If you go into my power school, you would see that I have a 4.0 GPA, and on the surface, it sounds like something that I should be proud of, but it feels like for me, it's something that I've never been. It feels like it's something that I've fretted over for years now to try to keep, to try to achieve that. When I was in middle school, I wasn't like that at all. I was a very bad student, and I would kind of joke around with my friend Joe, who was also kind of like sort of gifted in that way too. Like he was also pretty intelligent, but he would also like screw around a lot. And like for example, sometimes on the bus, he would yell, "Stop the bus!" And I would even join in sometimes. And in terms of grades, I didn't do terribly or anything. I still kept them up to like solid B's and maybe like the occasional C. But I feel like something had to be changed after COVID happened. Because after COVID happened, I kind of started to isolate myself even more. And it wasn't helped by the fact that after like the remote year we were all obligated to take at my middle school, I eventually decided to take another remote year because I was actually able to get my work done, and I thought, since I'm more of an introvert even like then, I thought it would be a good idea just because I could stay at home, I don't have to go to stupid school and wake up straight away. But I think it had a lot of ramifications on just like my mental health, and I feel like really lonely now. Like I have like no one around me or anything. I like lost contact with all of my close friends, or I wasn't like the closest with someone like Joe, but I was at least closer, and sometimes we would open up to each other. But since middle school, he's kind of moved, I think, to Florida. And as for me, I still have a couple of kids from my school that I know-ish that go to my high school, and I'm a senior now, but I never really connected with them again after that. And I thought that at this point, I don't really see any reason to live, so my focus has been on my grades because I feel like all I could do now is make a difference by keeping my grades up so that I can make a positive difference through just the information I know, and hopefully my goals are just kind of like start like a job maybe in like a animation studio or something, or like working at it, so that I could hopefully help people who are struggling because of AI and things like that to get a job and to, I don't know exactly what I want to do with that, but something along those lines. I haven't blueprinted it yet fully, but that's kind of like the idea I've been having. But it feels like more and more every day it's not really working out for me. It feels like I'm so lonely, and I can't even interact like a normal person anymore. It just doesn't work for me. I've tried talking to people at school sometimes, but I don't know. It feels like I feel like I'm the kind of person now that's just like, if you've ever experienced just like kind of like being like the kid in the back of a bus, kind of, or like you try to join in, but then you get kind of like stonewalled and like looked at weird for trying to add a comment. And I will admit that I haven't tried the hardest to interact with other people. And it's not like I'm completely lonely. Like I have some friends I can still probably talk to, but even if I'm not as close with them anymore, especially from my middle school. But at this point, it just feels like I'm just completely alone, regardless of that, because it feels like it isn't the same anymore. Maybe it's partially nostalgia. It's not like middle school is like fun for me or anything. It was also horrible in a lot of ways, but it feels like these 4 years have just been a complete drag. And now it's spring break, and my parents aren't here right now because my mother, she went on like a trip, like a cruise for a band she likes, the Beach Boys. But apparently she didn't know when the schedule would be, so it ended up being during spring break. And as for my dad and my sister, they left today just because they didn't want to have a boring spring break. But I didn't really want to like leave anywhere. And I am fine having my own time, and I am kind of like cold to them, sort of aloof like that sometimes, but even then I still need social interaction like that, so for the rest of my spring break I'm just going to be utterly alone. in this giant house by myself with no one here. And it's extremely isolating, even more so than usual. It makes me feel completely hopeless. And it's making me realize this is likely going to be my life after high school, after college, because I don't see myself really having any friends or anyone around to live with. So it's just going to be me by myself, like rotting away, watching videos, doing nothing. And this is going to be the rest of my life, most likely. I don't know if it's been like this for anyone else who's watching this, but I'm really just starting to lose hope right now and everything. And it feels like even my goals are out of reach and too idealistic to even matter, so it's kind of like, why am I even here? Why don't I just kill myself? I don't like the way my voice sounds. I sound weird. I don't like anything I say. I hate the little lisp I have. I wish I had a different voice. I wish I looked less ugly. There's like so much about me that I don't like about myself. And it feels like I understand perfectly why people would look at me and would not want to interact with me. I seem cold. I seem creepy. And I'm a human too, and I need that sort of like love and understanding. And I feel like I am willing to put that effort in, but it feels like I just can't anymore. It feels like something in me has switched off, and I have like no real hope. I have like a really nerdy voice like right now, but it's not always like this. It's sometimes like my lisp kind of like, I don't even know if it's a lisp. I don't know what you would call that sort of speech impediment. When I was in middle school, I went through a couple of classes for that, but it still really hasn't gone away. I don't know what my deal is in terms of that. This is probably just sounds like some big pity party, but it's just like I don't really see any reason to continue. But I want to find a reason to continue. It's like part of me does want to die because I'm in so much pain and everything feels so hopeless, but I also want to help people who are feeling like this, but it feels like I don't even have it in me anymore to do that. So, I guess the point of this video is, if you're struggling like that, how would you want someone to help you? Because I don't know how I want someone to help me. And if I want to help people who feel like me so that they don't have to go through the same thing, the same hopelessness, like what is it exactly that you would want? Because I found it to be a very hard question for even myself to answer. It's something that even I can't figure out because I don't think I know what I want. I've tried going to therapy a couple of times, and I hope it worked out for anyone who has tried going to therapy, but for me, it didn't really work. I will admit I didn't try the hardest. I just went to like one therapist, and I think it was like an internship or something, so maybe it wasn't exactly what I needed. I've tried a few times to go to like a psychiatrist about it, but according to my mom, they don't have like any spots available most of the time, which means it's kind of scary because it means there's so many people going to psychiatrists and trying to get like things like antidepressants, I assume, because they think they need that people are that lonely that it's being like overflooded, and I couldn't really get an appointment. Well, I'll scratch that. I will get an appointment, but I'm going to get it in June, I think. So I still have to go through a spring break alone. There you go, there's like the speech impediment again. I don't know what you would call it. So, I guess my point is, and I will admit I haven't tried the hardest to go to a psychiatrist, and I've committed very well. But I also do feel like I am at a point where I am feeling that a lot. It's sort of suicidal ideation. And it feels like I don't have that many options for help, whether I try or not, at least to a certain extent. So, even if I did know, I feel like it is kind of hard. So, I mean, if any of you have experienced something like this, like how would you want help? And if so, like what would kind of be like your plan for help? And like how would you want someone to help you? Because I feel like the only thing I can offer now is like helping people who feel this way. Because I feel like I've kind of like lost a part of myself after all these years of just being completely isolated from other people. I haven't been like the closest with people even since I was a kid. I've always been kind of introverted like this, but I think it's the worst it's ever been now. I can't talk to like anyone. I guess this is how I'll end the video. I don't want to just keep rambling on. It's already been 10 minutes. And I already asked like my big thesis question here, I guess. And I don't want you to hear my annoying, like nerdy voice anymore. And this speech impediment I have. I don't, and it's another thing, I guess. I get that I just said I'd end it, but I just want to add another thing. I don't like understand when people say like improving yourself when like to a certain extent, even though I do control my own actions, it's also kind of hard to help the way you feel if you don't have anyone supporting you. And I don't really see how much I could do in improving myself with things I can't, like my voice. I can't. I have worked on it before, and I'm not really trying hard to deal with like this weird speech impediment. I haven't been like officially diagnosed with any. I don't know if diagnosis is the right word, but I haven't like gone to a doctor or anything about my speech impediment. I went to like maybe like a pseudo speech therapist in my school and a few classes for speech therapy. But besides that, I really can't control that much, I feel like. So, in terms of like improving myself, I feel like it definitely is a good thing. But it's only something you could do so much, especially when humans are social creatures and we kind of need like help from one another to function right. So, in terms of like improving yourselves too, like how do you think you would go about that? And like, to what extent do you think you would be happier improving yourself? And to what extent would you want someone to help you with the things you can't really control? Or the things that it's really hard to do alone, really difficult? And I guess that's like the last question I want to leave you off on. Maybe I'm just like really like fake. Maybe I say I want to help people, but maybe I'm just being selfish, but it's kind of hard to tell. I feel like some parts of me are really selfish, but I want to be that person. I don't really see the point in living if I can't even help anyone. And I think it's just kind of selfish to want to live only for yourself when we're humans and we kind of live for each other. So I guess those are just kind of the things. And it's not, don't take this as like me wanting to kill myself. Because even though I do probably want to do that a little bit, to be honest, as blunt as it is, I don't think I would do that because I want to find a reason to live, and I think there are reasons to live. It's just hard to find them right now. And I just want to know how I could help people who feel the way I do, if you feel at all like I do. And obviously you're going to feel different than I do because you're your own person. So however you feel, like how would you want that sort of help?